As Tanzania prepares to mark 60 years of Tanzanian Union, that's the union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Today, we have a great honor to be with the American ambassador to Tanzania, His Excellency Michael Bado, the largest economy in the world. Your Excellency, welcome to TBC News and TBC One.
It's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you very much for accepting to have us today. Let's talk about Tanzania and U.S. relations. Tanzania now prepares to mark 60 years of the Union. And we understand the sixth phase government is putting a lot of emphasis to see how foreign policy do yield the results in terms of trade, investment. How would you describe the relations, the bilateral ties between the U.S. and Tanzania over the past 60 years?
You know, when you go back to the founding of Tanzania, Julius Nyerere and John F. Kennedy had a very close personal relationship. You go to the National Museum here in Dar es Salaam and you look at the different panels that show the personal letters between Nyerere and Kennedy, which is one of the reasons that Tanzania had the very first Peace Corps operation because of that personal relationship. So the relationship between the U.S. and Tanzania has been both personal and also political, in the sense that there has been a commitment on the part of the U.S. to Tanzania's future, to Tanzania's development. We are the largest development partner to Tanzania in the sense that we give more to Tanzania than any other country does in terms of development and keeping people alive, healthcare, education, and the like. What I would like to see us do over time, however, is to transition away from a trade away from an aid and development orientation to a trade and investment orientation, where we will continue to give to Tanzania, but as Tanzania becomes more of a middle-class country, there would be less need on Tanzania's part for us to give aid and development, and there would be a greater need on Tanzania's part and on our part for trade and investment. Because investment and trade is the only thing that's going to create real, substantial, long-term wealth in Tanzania. And it is both Tanzania's goal for itself and our goal and aspiration for Tanzania is to see Tanzania defeat poverty, to reach a point where it is solidly a middle-class country, where wealth is generated in Tanzania by investments from the U.S. and other places.
Do you think Tanzania has explored enough the good bilateral ties that we do have at the moment to see how it can trickle down to a common person?
I think at this point what Tanzania and the U.S. are trying to do is to develop our connections, not only in terms of the level of political leaders, but if you look at the number of students who are from Tanzania now studying in the U.S., that's down to the level of the common person. The number of people from the U.S. who are coming to Tanzania, we are the largest country outside of Africa that visits Tanzania. We are the largest group of tourists coming to Tanzania. Obviously, there's a love and commitment. What makes the average person benefit from a bilateral relationship is when that bilateral relationship creates wealth, job opportunities, academic opportunities, opportunities for people to have a better quality of life. One example, through the PEPFAR program, over the last 20 years, we have spent billions of dollars in Tanzania. And one of the results of that is that the average Tanzanian now lives 14 to 17 years longer than before the PEPFAR program. Because PEPFAR not only addresses issues of HIV/AIDS, but malaria, even with the most recent Marlboro outbreak, we were one of the first external entities to respond to Tanzania's need. Now, the UNICEF and the World Health Organization responded, but it was our money that helped them to respond. So in that sense, we were the first responders. And our CDC operation encouraged the Minister of Health in Tanzania to allow us to assist her in every way possible not only to help with addressing Marlboro, but to help with the gene tracing that will determine how that outbreak started and how we can make sure that we are ready to anticipate any other outbreaks and to address them directly. So reaching the needs of the common person is keeping people alive, helping people become well educated, helping people to develop wealth, and helping people to have a sustained better quality of life. That's what I consider reaching the everyday person.
As the world now seeks more to unite rather than to separate, how exemplary do you think the Union has been to the rest of the East African Union, to Africa, and the world at large?
Well, when you look at the combination of Zanzibar and Tanganyika, which created the United Republic of Tanzania, it's a remarkable example of how nations can come together. Now, there are also challenges which remain. You look at Zanzibar, for example, with the government of national unity. Fortunately, because of the leadership of President Samia, and because of the efforts of people in Zanzibar, the government of national unity, which at one point people thought was going to fall apart, managed to stay together. So if you look at the United Republic of Tanzania, great example of unity. And now if you look at Zanzibar as an entity of Tanzania, it also has incorporated within itself a sense of unification through the government of national unity. Now we have to make sure that both of them works, because if Zanzibar does not work as a peaceful and stable entity, a part of the United Republic, then the whole United Republic suffers because of that. So the insight and wisdom of President Samia was to recognize that Zanzibar's unity and harmony is essential to Tanzania's unity and harmony. So I applaud the efforts that are made by this government.
Based on your experience as a diplomat, but also you served as an ambassador to the African Union for 4 years, 2009 to 2013.
Yes.
America pretty much similar, uniting almost 50 states, being run by the federal government. With that vast experience, what would be your message to the Tanzanian government to see this union becomes everlasting, but also beneficial, mutual beneficial, especially to the Tanzanians in the mainland and Zanzibar as well?
Yeah, one of the things we often say in the U.S. is that our differences make us stronger. Our diversity makes us better. And I think Tanzania has probably done a better job at that than most other places in the world. For example, throughout its entire existence, Tanzania has never had ethnic strife. It has never had war and division based on religion. It has never had divisions based upon regions of the country or language distinctions from different tribal contexts. So Julius Nyerere was very intentional about making sure that there was a united people, that every Tanzanian felt that he or she was as much Tanzanian as any other person. So Julius Nyerere did a much, much better job than most people have done. It took him a long time to get a diverse nation to see its commonality, its similarity, its connectiveness. So I would say that Tanzania is an example that even the U.S. is striving in some instances to live up to. We have not always managed to live in a sense of coexistence, because there have been times when racial strife happened in the U.S., when Tanzania somehow avoided having ethnic strife. There have been times in the U.S. when religious differences, while celebrated, have also been occasions where people who have been narrow-minded have looked at others from different religious perspectives without the sense of unity that they should have. So Tanzania learns from us, we learn from Tanzania. That's what makes partners. We are in the process of learning and growing together. We've done it for 60 years of Tanzania's existence. We will be learning and growing together with Tanzania when your great-great-great-grandchildren reach 60 as well.
If we were to reach other 60 years and other 60 years, what do you think are other key areas that the government should work on to see
economic
this?
development?
Yes.
Now, Tanzania's population is about 65 to 67 million people. In the next 20 years, Tanzania will have over 130 million people. There is no logical way that Tanzania can absorb that larger population without having more private sector investment. So the private sector of Tanzania has to grow. The government itself cannot provide enough jobs for 130 million people. The government itself cannot provide enough education for 130-some million people. So it's going to require private sector investment from places like the U.S. and places all over the world, which means that Tanzania and the U.S. has to work together, as well as other partners working together, to make sure that we tear down the barriers of trade and the barriers of investment that prevents a large magnitude of investment from coming into Tanzania. Tanzania has to create wealth, it has to create jobs, it has to create opportunities, it has to provide for its people to be able to have a sense of economic as well as health security. That's what we want to be with you over the next 60 years, the partner to help you get to that point where Tanzania would not need anybody giving it aid or anybody giving it development. But Tanzania will exist with a trade and investment modality that will create wealth here in Tanzania.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your insight, for your views, and your take on 60 years of Tanzania's union, Tanganyika and Zanzibar. That's the American ambassador to Tanzania. A great insight from him. America, the largest economy in the world, giving his views and trying to advise the government on how to be economically independent. That's the king of TBC1.